Hi, I am here with another beautiful poem written by the prolific British writer James Falconer Kirkup. The name of the poem is No Men Are Foreign. James Falconer Kirkup is generally known as James Kirkup. If we know something about the poet before reading the poem, this is always helpful to us to understand the poem better. The life of the poet is connected with the poem somehow. The time when the poet wrote the poem has some impact on the thoughts engraved in the words of the poem. Therefore, let us now see the life history of James Falconer Kirkup before reading the poem No Men Are Foreign, which is the second poem in the anthology of English poetry of class 11 of the Council of Higher Secondary Education, Manipur. James Falconer Kirkup was born on 23rd April 1918 in South Shields, Durham, United Kingdom. His birthplace is the coastal town in the northeast of United Kingdom. He passed away on 10th May 2009 when he was 91 years of age in Andorra, a tiny independent principality situated between France and Spain. James Kirkup was a prolific poet, a playwright, a novelist, a translator, and a very great autobiographer. James started writing poetry so early in his life from the age of 6. In the beginning, he wrote simple verses and rhymes. He studied in South Shields High School and graduated from King's College under Durham University in 1941. He was a highly respected poet, having academic excellence in the field of literature. To mention a few positions he occupied in colleges and universities, he received Gregory Fellow in Poetry from Leeds University from 1950 to 1952. He became a visiting poet and head of Department of English at Bath Academy of Art from 1953 to 1956. From 1956 to 1957, he was a traveling lecturer in Swedish Ministry of Education in Stockholm. From 1957 to 1958, he served as a professor of English in the University of Salamanca in Spain. Then he went on to hold various lectureships and professorships of English in Japan. He served in Tohoku University, Japan Women's University, Nagoya University, and Kyoto University of Foreign Studies, etc. He won many awards. Kirkup received the Atlantic Award for Literature from the Rockefeller Foundation in 1950. He won the Japan PEN Pain Club Prize for Poetry in 1965. He won the Scott Moncrief Prize for Translation in 1992. Japan Festival Foundation Award was also offered to him in 1997, to the surprise of many of his readers that he had written under numerous pseudonyms: James Falconer, June Honda, Felix Liston, Edward Raven, IVV Summer Forest, Teko Kawai, Andrew James, and Aditya Jha, etc. These are the names under which he wrote different books, poetry, novels, short stories, articles, etc. In 1977, a very tragic incident occurred to the life of James Kirkup. His poem entitled The Love That Dares to Speak Its Name was published in the newspaper called Gaze News in the 3rd June 1976 issue. The poem, written from the viewpoint of a Roman centurion, graphically describes him having sex with Jesus after his crucifixion and also claims that Jesus had had sex with numerous disciples, guards, and even Pontius Pilate. The paper was successfully prosecuted in the White House versus Lemon case, along with the editor Dennis Lemon for blasphemous libel under the Blasphemy Act of 1697 by White House, then Secretary of the National Viewers and the Listeners Association. So it was a very tragic incident in the life of James Kirkup that gave him a break of writing poetry. James Kirkup published almost over 150 volumes of poetry, translations, autobiographies, and travel writings during his lifetime. He wrote approximately 300 obituaries for the literary journal The Independent. The Drowned Sailor was his first book, published in 1947. I'm not going to mention all the publications of James Kirkup here in this video. So the last publication of poetry that he made was in 2008. The name of the book was Mersden Bay, which was published in the Red Squirrel Press. Now let's come to the poem of the day, No Men Are Foreign. Let's read the poem in full, and we will have a thorough discussion of all the stanzas of the poem. Here is the poem of James Kirkup, No Men Are Foreign. Remember, no men are estranged, no country is foreign. Beneath all uniforms a single body reach, like ours, the lane our brothers walk upon is art like dust, in which we all shall lie. They too, aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvest, by war's long winter's starve, their hands are ours. And in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. Remember, they have eyes like ours that wake, or sleeve and string that can be warmed by love. In every lane a common life that all can recognize and understand. Let us remember, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispose, betray, and condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other, it is the human art that we defile. Our hails of fire and dust, outrage and innocence of air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no country is strange. The poem No Men Are Foreign is a post-colonial poem. James Kirkup shows his concern for humanity on earth. The oppression of man by man is the greatest hatred he wants to uproot. This poem talks about globalization and the unity of men all across the globe. As this poem had been composed by this poet James Kirkup in the late 1940s of his life, he seems to show his awareness of the dislike shown by the peace-loving countries against the oppressive rule of the colonial powers after the Second World War. This poem, No Men Are Foreign, is written in free verse. By nature of free verse, there is no set rhyme scheme shown in the poem. There are altogether 5 quatrains. That means there are 20 lines in the poem. Universal brotherhood is the central idea depicted in the lines of the poem. Thus, the main theme of the poem is equality of mankind on earth. The poem has a very serious tone that strikes at every reader as a warning to stop fighting. Now let's read the poem stanza-wise and see the thoughts of the poet contains in all the stanzas of the poem. Let us now find out the ideas, concepts, and the thoughts of James Falconer Kirkup contains in each stanza of the poem. no men are foreign. Here is the first stanza of the poem. Remember, no men are estranged, no country is foreign. Beneath old uniforms, a single body breaks. Like ours, the lane our brothers walk upon is earth like dust, in which we all shall lie. James Kirkup begins his poem with an imperative mood, reminding his readers that they should remember one thing, which he feels as if they have forgotten. He means to say that human beings are not different from one another on the basis that they are from separate places or separate countries. Soldiers wearing different uniforms fight with soldiers of other countries, forgetting that they are all essentially similar. They share the same earth and breathe the same air as their enemies do. He affirms very precisely that all of them shall return to the same earth after death. Therefore, in his opinion, all men are like brothers and sisters in the same family. So, his first appeal to his readers is that they should remember that nobody is stranger and no country is foreign to anyone. The world is one. Now, let's read the second stanza of the poem. They too, aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvest, by war's long winter stuffed. Their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. Now, the poet continues to assert the facts that people belonging to other countries enjoy the warmth of the same sun, breathe the same air, drink the same water. Wars lead man to starvation or scarcity of food, but there is good harvest when there is no war. It is a fact, and it is the truth that occurs all over the world. Minds of men remain calm, cool, and peaceful when there is no war. It is true also. James Kirkup emphasizes on the reality that people of other countries possess the same hands as ours. They work in the same manner as we do. They have work as hard as us, and their hands show the lines of toil as ours do. His philanthropic zeal is well portrayed in these lines. Universal oneness is clearly depicted here in all these lines. In a very simplified language, it may be assumed like this, that he is going to motivate all his readers to extend their hands to help people, to bring unity of man on earth. So this is the main idea contained in second stanza of his poem, No Men Are Foreign. Let's now read the third stanza of the poem. Remember, they have eyes like ours that wake or sleep, and a string that can be worn by loved. In every lane is common light that all can recognize and understand. Here, in this stanza, the tone of consciousness that all men are equal everywhere is predicted well. Though we consider a particular group of people as our enemies, they have eyes as ours, and they sleep and wake as we do. All have the same physiology, similar physiology. They have physical strength, they have the strength of the heart to win some other people by their love. Kirkup once again affirms that all human beings have the same emotional strength to support his friends. This emotional strength is made powerful through a very great emotional capacity, which is called love. Although there are differences of topography, thereby resulting to different races of man, there is one thing common to all of us, that is nothing but life. Living a life is common to all the people living in various different places of the earth. The way man live on earth is the same everywhere. Who will defy this? Still then, men remain enemies to their brothers belonging to geographically separated places. This is the nature of human beings. James Kirkup speaks against. Next is the fourth stanza of the poem. Here it is. Let us remember, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispossess, betray, condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other. In this stanza, James Kirkup turns his attention more on the central idea he wishes to convey to his readers. He tells us to remember, if we had somebody in the name of our own country, it is we ourselves that we hate. Any hatred that we may have for any member of human race is just a betrayal of the entire species and our condemnation of our own future. Another truth he tells us here in this stanza is that we may win a war, but the loss will be shared by the two sides equally. In his opinion, if we are the guardians of the earth, that means if we are the owners of the earth, we must take care of the earth which our ancestors had transferred to us through generations and generations. Therefore, he is going to give a warning to everyone that he must understand the final end of war before he raises his weapons against his enemies. So his hatred for war and his disbelief in the goodness of war is portrayed very precisely again and again in each stanza of the poem. Let's now read the last stanza of the poem. It is the human earth that we defile, our hails of fire and dust outrage the innocence of air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no country strange. In this concluding stanza of the poem, James Kirkup says that when war breaks out between two countries, we make our Mother Earth filthy. We make her a living hell of dust and fire. This directly affects our thoughts and actions, thereby disturbing the purity of the surrounding. Since there are gunshots, explosion of bombs, and firing in all sides, the air is poisoned with smoke. It becomes polluted, threatening human lives. Therefore, the poet is appealing to us that we should never encourage to wage war on our brothers and sisters who belong to different countries of the world. They are never foreigners to us, and that their countries are the same with ours. So these are the ideas contained in the poem, no men are foreign. So in other words, we may say that no men are foreign is a poem of integrity, unity of the world. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my video. Next time I'll come with another beautiful poem.